Welcome back, guys, to the Mighty PHI Games History and Reviews. And today we're doing a history video, and it's going to be like a 5-part series on the history of rock and roll music. And I'm probably wondering why I have a blank screen. Personally, I didn't really know what to put in the screen, kind of thing, because I always know what I did. Well, if you're a regular viewer, you always know that once you get to this, the first screen, you always have a picture of something. I didn't really know what to put in. So yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge rock and roll fan. It's pretty much inspired me for a lot of things. And as a historian, I'm like, hey, well, actually, because I'm actually sick right now. I don't have COVID-19, been tested negative, I'm fine. I have some viral thing, and the doctor said once this fever's gone for 24 hours, you can leave your bedroom. It comes back every night and just messes the whole thing up. And so yeah, it's just nuts. So yeah. Crazy. Okay, so enough about my problems. So today we're talking about the history of rock and roll. And if you're new to this channel, you know that I really like going, trying to get the backstory of it, and I really like connecting the dots. And so that's what I did. So yeah, so the story of rock and roll starts pretty much during the Civil War. The South is losing miserably, and General Grant says he's using total warfare against the South, which is pretty much a new technique at the time, and it would be used pretty much every war after, like World War II, World War I, basically every war. Total warfare is now used. Basically, it is not caring about anything the enemy whatsoever and destroying anything useful to it. That's what they did. So basically, they destroyed the South, kind of thing. And yeah. And so to help them get through the hard times, the people in the South started singing sad songs. And these sad songs would later be known as the blues. Fun fact. So fast forward a couple years, and then this dude named Thomas Edison, I think everyone knows who Thomas Edison is. If you don't know who he is, he's the dude that who invented the lights in your house. The light bulb. The thing he's kind of surrounding him on the table. Yeah, he invented that. He invented lots of stuff. And so one of these things was a thing called the phonograph. And the phonograph was basically a record, but it was basically a record player, but the record wasn't a disc. It was just a little, think of it as, like a jolly, the jolly green giant, I have his little canned little, green bean stuff like that. Think of, you get that can, place on its side. And let's say you get and you wrap a record around it like you're wrapping it for a Christmas present. And then you put that on the phonograph and you kick it across the floor on its side and it spins. That's basically what it was. It spun around like that. The needle would be connected to that big horn thingy, and just kind of by the side of it as it just spun around, like you were blowing on its side. That's kind of what it did. And so this was huge in the music industry, because now people can record your voices. There's a new way to make money. This was huge. And yeah. And so then there's when record labels came out. And one of the first ones, or one of the earliest ones I know of, is Columbia, which came out in 1899. Fast forward to the 30s, late 20s, early 30s, and the blues becomes really popular in the U.S. Thanks to people like Bessie Smith, Robert Johnson, I think I got your name right, that guy in the middle, supposedly sold soul to the devil, and Muddy Waters. They made blues popular. also around the 30s, you had these guys who would just buy cheapo cars and really just fix, try to make them go fast, like basically like the early version of hot rodders, and basically they just made hot rods really and drag race them. And why I'm mentioning this, you see in the next episode. Well, you might get, yeah, just keep watching. All your questions will be answered at some point. So these guys just kind of tinker with the engines, try to see if they can go faster, stuff like that. Yeah. So also around this time, the radio was getting very popular in family homes, and the radio was kind of like a military only thing, and so regular person couldn't buy a radio until RCA came out and said, "Hey, can we, uh, sell the radio to the public? We make lots of money." And the first thing they broadcasted was a boxing match and stuff like that. And so the radio got very, very popular in like American homes and stuff. And it was kind of like when Disney Plus came out and everyone needed to get it. That was kind of what the radio was. Everyone had a radio. Like now everyone has Disney Plus and Netflix. Everyone had that back then. And so, but the good time, well, it wasn't really good times because the Depression, but they didn't really last. Because World War II started, and in the U.S. at the second year of the war got brought in pretty quick, unlike previous wars. Because at the time the U.S. was still kind of practicing isolationism. Because George Washington said, "Don't get in Europe's affairs." That's kind of what they did. It's kind of the only thing the U.S. did right. Well, George Washington said, "Don't do these three things. Just don't rack up national debt," which we've done great at. Don't start political parties, which we broke like the first day after he said that. And stay out of Europe's affairs. Like the only time we've been at war with anyone, almost, at war with anyone, excluding like Korean War and probably a couple modern ones. Well, maybe like Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, mostly all U.S. wars started with the U.S. getting attacked first, like Civil War, Sumter. Well, the Revolution War we attacked first. Boston Massacre, but World War II, Pearl Harbor. Well, World War One, you had Lusitania in the Zimmerman note. And then just have 9/11. So we've pretty much all in the Smash American, the U.S.'s main, which is probably a boiler explosion, like some ammunition problem. Okay, enough of me ranting. Let's go back. So World War II starts, and a lot of these guys made those hot rods and stuff. Went into like the at the time was the Army Air Corps as mechanics, or like the Navy. Basically, they went into the military service as mechanics, and they learned how engines work, how to take them apart, put them back together, the aerodynamics and stuff like that. They learned how to make stuff faster. And so they worked on these things for roughly 5 years, and when they came back, they had a whole bunch of military surplus, so they could work with stuff that they were relatively familiar with, and they basically just made these, they put like airplane engines in cars and stuff like that, and basically made like the early version of like hot rods and drag racing. So that's around this time in 1948. Columbia released this thing called the long playing record, which is just now known as a vinyl record. Yeah. And so, yeah. And then, like, the next year, the 45 was released. People might not know what this is, but basically, in a nutshell, it's a back then they have a singles, and what the single was, it was just one of these little things. It was called 45. And it was called 45 because it's spun at 45 RPM, which is rounds per minute. And it just had one song, and then you flip it and it have another song. And so they're called 45s, and they're just singles. And so it's kind of like sometimes, well, nowadays it's like you go like on Spotify, YouTube Music, and it was like recently released singles. So back then it was just what that lady is carrying with her hand. So, yeah. So also around this time, back to the hot rod thing, it was coming extremely, extremely popular. And so one of the car manufacturers, one U.S. car manufacturer is like, hey, let's make a car that's kind of like a hot rod, a kind of hot rod kind of car kind of thing. Had a big engine, went fast, but could still be used as a family car. The kind of sporty, and still be used as a family car, everyday driver kind of thing. And believe it or not, this company was Oldsmobile. Um, I bet the right now, if you're a younger person watching this, probably looking up what is Oldsmobile. It was a car company. It was really big back then. If you do know what Oldsmobile was, and you're kind of familiar with newer Oldsmobile, you kind of think of them as like the old man's kind of car. Back then, they pretty much invented the sports car, surprisingly. Yeah, it's very unexpected. Yeah, and they called it the Rocket 88, and they made it for that hot rod community and drag race. Yeah, so yeah, Oldsmobile they like disbanded in 2009 or something like that because the financial crisis, and a lot of car companies inside like Pontiac, Plymouth, Mercury, Hummer, Saturn. Don't know why Saturn existed. So yeah, so this is part one. Part two, we will pretty much leave off where this left off. And so if you liked it, please leave a like, subscribe. If I missed anything, put down in the comments below, please. And because I do like remaking my videos to update them more if I learn a whole bunch of new facts about the topic. Recently, I did that for the 1992 Omaha riot. I just update, and that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing for all my older videos, just kind of updating them. But yeah. So yeah. So if you like any cool facts that I missed, and well, if I got anything wrong, that's the big thing. Put down comments below. I don't really care if I take criticism, um, because it just kind of, you have to take it at some point. You know, can't be famous and not be able to take criticism. And now, yeah. Okay, so, yeah. Uh, wow. Okay, so if you have any comments, complaints, questions, answers to questions being asked, or anything like, good job, great fit, please put it down in the comments below. And, well, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!